he had to tell me to go up to the podium, so here I am. All right, are we ready to go? Okay. Well, so good afternoon. Thanks everyone for coming out today to celebrate a major win for Chicago. A major win, thanks in no small part to a whole lot of people. We couldn't fit in this room, all the people who had something to do with this project. But a lot of that thanks, a lot of the possibility starts under the leadership of Governor Pritzker and everybody else who helped make the Rebuild Illinois program happen. That's why we're standing here today. So a big welcome to our elected representatives. Let's see, Senators Leader Collins, Senator Villalom, Representative Delgado, Andrade, Guzzardi, Alderman Burnett, many others. It takes more than a village to pull off some of these kinds of projects. And I guess I forgot to mention, I'm Gia Biaggi. I am the Secretary of Transportation for Illinois, and I am pleased to officially announce the completion of the Kennedy Expressway project. You should clap. All right. So this morning we reopened the Ontario Street ramps and the Wilson Avenue ramp, officially reaching that finish line and reaching it a month early, well ahead of our Thanksgiving deadline. That should be applauded. Ahead of schedule. I mean, come on. So it all started way back in 2023. So let's remember what we were facing, right? This was an expressway named for Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, that was built when he was still president. Like, that is how old that we are talking in terms of this piece of infrastructure. So 60 years later, you know, it was in some rough shape. Certainly potholes, big potholes, right, that would pop up at the worst times. Potholes that made you hold on to that steering wheel a little tighter. And not only putting drivers in jeopardy, but also our highway maintainers, our folks who are out there every day who are doing that work. So we had the potholes, we had bridges that hadn't been touched in decades, the express lanes, which the term in the industry is the reversibles, so if I refer to it that way, that's why. But the express lanes had long exceeded their lifespan. So at long last, all of that is in the rearview mirror. So a quick reminder of what we've accomplished. 7.5 miles of roadway repaired from Ohio to the 1994 split. That's nearly 75 lane miles, huge. We fixed 24 exit and entrance ramps, 36 bridges rehabbed, painted, energy efficient LED lighting on the corridor, new signs, modernized message boards, and that express lane, a complete overhaul of the express lanes. And that's, you know, it's not just what you see, but the electronics associated with it. We call it the RevLAC system. But that's what makes it possible for us to put the gates down, bring the gates up. All of that makes it easier for us to operate, and it also makes it easier for us when it gets damaged. You know, and I'll pause there for a second, which is, you know, it's open, but we want you to be safe out there, and we want our maintainers to be safe out there. But inevitably, people do hit those gates, and so please take care when you're out there. If you see our workers out there, drive slow. But we repaired that system and fixed it in a way that would make those repairs that we will have to do when people inevitably collide with it, make it easier to do. So, okay, 3 long construction seasons, right, to get to this point. We could not have gotten here without support and partnership and leadership, certainly starting with the governor himself and really his directive to invest in core assets, to take this opportunity of rebuild and put it to work and put people to work and to make safe and reliable and restored public transportation infrastructure. He also challenged us to move a little faster, and we did, in this last phase especially, finishing the project a month ahead of schedule. Our partnership with labor and engineering and the construction community, just huge. And it really is impossible for me to name everyone, but I do want to throw a couple of names out there. Thanks to Lochner, Jacobs, J.A. Waits, Grafe, Dunnett Bay, HNTB, and Lorig Construction. Special hat tip to HNTB and Lorig. We really pushed. We were in a lot of conversations this last year, and they responded. I also want to highlight the contributions of our disadvantaged business community, our DBEs, who were on the project. ABNA, Singh, STI Engineering, Wang, Material Solutions, Atlas, Tecma, Pinpoint Precision, more. We know we're in uncertain times when it comes to disadvantaged business at the federal level, but here's what we know for certain. We have the best women-owned, the best minority-owned, the best veteran-owned businesses anywhere in the country right here in Illinois. They do great work. We have their back, and we should continue to do work with them. We also have our friends in labor and many, many workers here today who worked around the clock, day and night. While you might have been sleeping, we had people working, trying to get this done. Thank you to the Chicago Federation of Labor and all the unions. It is impossible to get the work done without you all. A few last thanks, certainly to CTA and CDOT. CTA, we have to work. The train line's going right up down the middle. We have to coordinate. They were great partners in that. Chicago Department of Transportation, Commissioner Turner and his team, that coordination was essential, as of course traffic is going to neighborhoods, how we work together to alleviate that as best as possible. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you to our IDOT team that's all over here today, especially Regional 1 Engineer Jose Rios, his crew, Fawad Akil, Samaria, Robert Bearden, Sharissa Hatcher, and the indomitable John Schumacher, our Bureau Chief of Construction. He has lived and breathed this project. He has suffered through my phone calls. He has been on it the whole way. So thank you, John. Incredible work. And then lastly, thank you to the public. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you, everyone who used the expressway throughout this. We appreciate your patience and understanding, and we are open for use, and we so appreciate patience along the way. So thank you. And so then I want to hand it over to the person that really does make it all possible, that placed a bet that we could deliver on infrastructure, and we have. Please allow me to introduce Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you so much to Secretary Biaggi, and good afternoon, everyone. We can do better than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Love it. Thank you so much, and really, it makes me so proud to be the leader of a state where we are delivering on revitalizing our transportation systems, and we're not just delivering; we're delivering it on time. In fact, early, and I want to thank everybody in the room for that. I am very pleased to be celebrating the completion of another major infrastructure project for the state of Illinois. This is yet again one that was completed in a quality fashion, done by quality people working together, collaborating, and making it happen for the people of Illinois. With a project of this magnitude, it is that collaboration, the passionate, dedicated individuals all pulling together in the same direction. And I want to thank so many of you who are here, and of course you heard the names from Gia a bit. I do want to recognize that that doesn't happen everywhere. There's, sometimes infrastructure projects in other states get delayed because people aren't willing to work together, or because the folks who are working on it aren't union members who know how to get things done in a quality fashion. And I want to, as a result, start by thanking and recognizing the men and women of organized labor who put their shovels in the ground and shoulders to the wheel to get this project done early. They are the force that makes a whole lot of things happen in this state. You are the folks who do deliver in a quality fashion. It's your talent, it's your skills that make sure that we have quality roads and bridges and ports and airports and all the things that we're building and rebuilding in the state. And I'm very proud to be working with all of you, and of course represented by Bob Reiter, who's behind me. I think you're going to hear from him from the Chicago Federation of Labor. So congratulations to all of you, and well done. I want to thank the folks from the General Assembly that are here. You don't get things done without leaders that you send to Springfield to work with me. Leader Ram Vilivalam, Senator Lakeisha Collins, Representative Jamie Andrade, Leader Evedina Delgado, and of course the others across the state who aren't here today, but who helped to deliver on these investments by passing the Rebuild Illinois plan back in 2019, and then continually re-upping as we announce our multi-year plans each year, this one being the largest ever in the history of the state. I also want to recognize our local partners, particularly my friend Alderman Burnett, and of course the Chicago Department of Transportation Commissioner Craig Turner, Again, nothing gets done unless we collaborate at every level of government, and particularly a project of this importance. And finally, to every Illinoisan and every out-of-town visitor who endured the traffic while we made this crucial progress for the state, thank you. At a time of historic division in our politics, there is one idea that we can all rally around, and that's traffic sucks. But these improvements were vital to make, and it was an investment in our future. Thank you for your patience. We'll have safer roads, we'll have faster commutes in the long run as a result of this. I often have said that when you see an orange cone out there, slow down. I'm sorry you have to slow down. And in general, sorry you have to put up with orange cones, but I'm not sorry actually, because this is about building the state for the next 10, 20, 30 years. What you've done by completing this project is going to be lived and part of people's lives for so many years to come, and it will make their lives easier and better. So thank you for making all that happen. From the beginning, I have worked with the General Assembly to make rebuilding our infrastructure one of our state's highest priorities. Years of neglect and deferred maintenance have left our roads and bridges crumbling, and every region of the state was suffering from it. Our people were less safe, our communities were less connected, and our businesses less productive. Rebuild Illinois sought to change all that. Our bipartisan capital plan is one of the most comprehensive in the entire nation. We passed it before the federal government ever got around to it. The biggest plan in the entire country. In fact, the Secretary, I'm surprised she didn't say it here, but we had the largest plan, larger than California, larger than Texas, larger than Florida. People don't believe that, but that is true. And we did that before the federal government came around. $45 billion for the state of Illinois, $20 billion from the federal government. We're rebuilding everything across the state. Rebuild Illinois sought to change the direction of the state, and it has. Our bipartisan capital plan really has allowed us to meet the size and scale and scope of the problem that we were facing. It's a plan not just to rectify the shortcomings of the past, but to build something truly better for our future. So what you see at the Kennedy Expressway rehabilitation is the embodiment of that vision. These structures were over 60 years old and hadn't been rebuilt for over 30 years. A road of this importance that everyone drives, being in the condition that it was in, was a symbol of the broader problems that our state used to face. Delay and inaction being the cause of those problems. And it was also a major inconvenience and safety hazard for drivers. So what you see today is something that we can all be very proud of. 275,000 vehicles pass through the Kennedy Expressway every single day. That is hundreds of thousands of workers making their commute, parents taking their kids to school, delivery drivers moving freight, tourists coming to see Chicago. We have just made all of their lives and their drives faster and easier and safer. 1 million square feet of high-performance latex concrete was poured, which is enough to cover Millennium Park twice over. 16 new overhead sign structures were added or replaced, which stacked on top of each other would be taller than the Willis Tower. A total of 1,200 new LED light fixtures were installed, one for every seat in the Chicago Theater. Think about that. I mean, folks, this is a major project that you have accomplished. Now, sometimes when we do these things, we're talking about a beautiful new park or bike lane or a fancy rail station. This is not one of those times. It isn't the flashiest project when we talk about rebuilding roads, but it is one of vital importance to us all. That is the essence of what Rebuild Illinois is really all about. It's doing the gritty, foundational, and absolutely essential work that provides for economic growth and safety and a better quality of life for everyone. Now, I've been up and down the state over these last few weeks, as I have over the last 6.5 years, but lately, and I was here in Chicago and Quad Cities and Metro East, I've been checking out all the incredible progress that we've been making on projects just like this one. And the word transformation comes to mind. Big things have happened to vault our state forward, and this is one of the biggest. There is still a whole lot more work to do. Our newest multi-year plan is the largest in our history, in the history of the Illinois Department of Transportation. That means more projects to undertake, more communities to revitalize, more jobs for folks who are wearing orange today, and the opportunity to truly create something great. So I look forward to seeing all of you at more events like this one as we continue our top-down revitalization of
Right, member of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. If it weren't for projects like this that my dad, who was backhoe operator, worked on, I likely wouldn't be standing here today. The amount of hours that workers can get in order to pay for their health insurance, help their kids pay for college tuition, is immeasurable. Not only does rebuilding the Kennedy help our members who drive to work every day, who commute, but it also helps our members that get to deliver on the investment of building important infrastructure like this. And let there be no doubt about it, the greatest infrastructure in this country is centered right here in Chicago. And if it weren't for hardworking construction workers like my dad, I wouldn't be standing up here with an opportunity to do things like fight for democracy in our country today alongside of leaders like J.B. Pritzker. So thank you, Governor, for everything you do to help create jobs and protect the citizens of Illinois. Under Governor Pritzker's leadership and the General Assembly support, we are rebuilding Illinois, and doing so with union labor, creating good jobs for working families while ensuring the projects meet the highest standards that the public expects and deserves. In Illinois, we understand union built is a stamp of quality. And as we do outreach across all of our communities here in Chicago to bring people into the labor movement, we train them at state-of-the-art facilities where we invest in the people that make this city work every single day. The 275,000 daily drivers on the Kennedy can expect a smoother, safer ride thanks to the foresight of our state leaders and the hard work of Cook County union members. Congratulations again to everyone who worked hard on this project, but especially thank you to the tradespeople, from the operating engineers to the laborers, the carpenters, the iron workers, the cement finishers, the electricians, and on and on and on. Thank you for what you do to help build our communities every day. I'd now like to introduce a very good friend of mine and the chair of the Illinois Senate Transportation Committee, Leader Ram Villaballo.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be with you all. Ram Villaballo, I'm State Senator for the 8th District on the northwest side of Chicago and Chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. I want to start by first and foremost thanking Governor Pritzker, Secretary Biaggi, all of the team at IDOT, all of the organized labor workforce that has worked on this project to get to this point and this culmination. Safety is our number one issue. We want to make sure all 13 million people in the state of Illinois are safe and healthy at every day, all year round. This project embodies that principle, embodies the importance of making sure people are safe as they get to their school, their doctor, their job on a daily basis. There's never, as we talked about Rebuild Illinois in 2019 when I was first sworn in, there's never a moment any constituent of ours should be wondering, well, how safe is that road or bridge? It's not a question we want them asking. And it's because of the organized labor workforce today, because of the leadership of Governor Pritzker and Secretary Biaggi, we are able to make sure that question isn't asked, as 275,000 cars are utilizing the Kennedy. I also want to just make sure I heard, I've had 7 years of sound machines for my kids. Secretary and Governor, you said this got done early, right? Is that early? Okay. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Where credit is due is where credit is due. When we voted on this legislation, it was challenging. There was a lot of conversations. Because of all the parties involved, we got it to a bipartisan place, historic level of funding. But I'll tell you what I always say, voting on pieces of legislation like this are incredibly challenging. The execution of legislation like this is even more challenging. And so I just want to reiterate the work that they did to get this done and to make sure that our roads and bridges are more safe as we go through this, as we go through the year, is incredibly gratifying as someone that voted on this legislation who, in voting for it, told our constituents we're making a promise to make our roads and bridges safer, and now we are delivering on that promise. So thank you again for everyone for their work on this. And I also will tell you that, as the governor well knows, nothing can get done without 30 and 60 in the Senate and the House, and colleagues like Senator Lakeisha Collins were also very instrumental in making this happen. Senator Collins, please join me at the podium. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Again, I am Lakeisha Collins, State Senator of the 5th Senate District. I'm going to brag a little bit. 5th Senate District is one of the best districts in the state of Illinois, may I add. It's also a transportation hub. It's like a connector. You can get to any expressway, bus line, you name it. I want to start off by saying thank you to our secretary and to the IDOT team, and especially to the workers. Thank you for your hard work and dedication to this project. Thank you to President Ryder. Thank you to my colleagues in the House and Senate who make this job so much easier. I am a very pro-labor person, but I will tell you I understand the importance of making sure that workers are put to work. And it is because of our governor, J.B. Pritzker, who continues to stand on the front line, who is bold, who is a visionary, who is unapologetic. And no matter what challenge we are facing, he is always going to stand up for the people here in the state of Illinois. So please give a round of applause again for our governor, who I have the honor of serving with. And then also to my new alderman, Alderman Red Burnett Jr. But no, this is a modernization and rehabilitation project that represents a major, major milestone. This work is part of the state's Rebuild Illinois capital program, which continues to build the largest infrastructure investment in Illinois' history. The Kennedy Expressway carries more than a quarter million vehicles every single day and is a crucial link to commuters, families, and businesses across our district and across Illinois. This shows what is possible when state leadership, local governments, and labor partners work together towards a shared goal. This is a win for working families, for small businesses, and every Illinoisan who depends on reliable transportation every single day. This project is far more than a construction project. It's about the daily lives of tens of thousands of Chicagoans, the neighborhood businesses that line the routes, and our region's future for decades to come. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit cold. During the construction, many commuters, local residents, and local businesses have experienced disruptions, detours, and noise. These challenges are real, and Illinois will continue working to ensure transparency, timely updates, and minimal impacts while delivering a result that will last for generations. And again, we finished this project a month early, and I know because I ride the Kennedy. There's plenty of times where I was upset. Can I get an amen? No, I'm just kidding. This is an investment that supports community growth through jobs, businesses, and all while improving our community safety. And that means every resident, not only in the 5th Senate District, but across Illinois, should feel this is a win, and not just people driving to work, but for the people who live and work every single day. Thanks to community patience, diligence, and faith, that state leadership can deliver the infrastructure Chicago and Illinois deserve. Again, thank you. And next, I have the pleasure and honor of bringing up my former colleague in the House, but still my colleague, Leader Andrade. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had a speech, but everyone already said everything, and no one wants to hear again. I just want to say that as a chairman of Transportation Vehicle Safety, the highway is not just a place for people just to get to work. Every morning, I actually have a chance to have a conversation with my daughter. That time we're just driving on there, I actually build a relationship with her, with my daughter, just taking her to school. So being safe is important because I take my family, and all of you take your family too. Also, there's cameras on the highway, on the ramps. One of those cameras, and hopefully that was part of the modernization program too, captured the carjacker that put a gun to my constituent right off the highway. Because having in my district the highway, the whole thing, that's one of the reasons people actually carjack by the highway, because exit. But because of IDOT's and the governor's investment in our area, we were able to catch that carjacker because of that camera. So it's, and that's thanks to IDOT. I will be remiss if I don't mention the patience that IDOT employees have had with me when I used to have Old Irving Park in my district, and the number one complaint I had was pigeon poop. Besides traffic sucks, pigeon poop sucks too. I'll tell you that much. That's one of the biggest things, and I want to thank the contractor for putting back all the pigeon abatement at Irving Park Blue Line Station, because that was the biggest concern my neighbors were having. They're like, Jamie, all that time that they spent, they tore it all out. I said, listen, it's going to come back. Don't worry. So I'm very grateful that we have a governor who's a leader, who built this rebuild project. It was $169 million to repair 36 bridges. I don't remember if some of you remember, some of these bridges were falling apart, and one time one of the pieces fell on a resident, on our constituent driving through the highway. So it's not just that lives are protected. We also have Scott's Law. Scott's Law to protect our workers, my fellow union members. As a member of Local 2 Stagehands, there's nothing prouder that I am now also a union member. So I want to thank you guys for all the work that you do. And here, I use the highway all the time, because after this, on my way to O'Hare to work at the Hyatt over there with my other job. So remember, for the public out there, please drive safely and watch out for our workers. Scott's Law, there's a purpose for that. Thank you very much. And now we have Alderman Burnett, and I work with your father a lot, and I'm very proud to have you come after me, and for younger people to come and lead us now into the future too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. Hello, everyone. My name is Walter Raymond Burnett, Alderman of the 27th Ward, and I want to welcome you to the 27th Ward. Thank you to Governor Pritzker, to Secretary Gia, to Bob Ryder and the Federation of Labor, to Senator Villarreal, Senator Collins, my state senator, and appreciate all that you do. This is a huge project and a huge partnership for the state of Illinois and for Chicago. The Department of Transportation, both at a state level and at a city level, created a lot of great work in order to get this project done. The Kennedy Expressway is the road that moves people forward. It's a vital artery that keeps people coming to Chicago every day, and especially to the 27th Ward, where people should come more. It really does connect our neighborhoods, and a lot of Chicago was built on the infrastructure in the 20th century, and it's time that we have modernization and repair to some of these critical roads and bridges throughout the entire city. So I really want to give a thanks to Governor Pritzker for making sure that our state highways, bridges, and roads are continuously being redeveloped so that we can continue to build a better future for Chicagoans who want to call this place home. And so to the laborers, I appreciate you all for all the work that you do. It takes a really skilled labor force in order to get this project done, and to get it done early is no small feat. So you all are really the backbone of what keeps Chicago going forward. And again, thank you to everyone who have decided to come here and celebrate with us in the 27th Ward. I will now invite Governor Pritzker back up to give his questions and answers.
Thank you. Happy to take questions. Dan Petrella.
Mayor Johnson said earlier today that the Chicago Board of Education would like you to do a disaster proclamation for the current ICE enforcement, immigration enforcement SB, to allow them to do remote schooling, things like that. Is that something that you've talked with anybody at CPS or the mayor's office about? And is that something you're considering?
Well, I think, for years, actually, the Illinois State Board of Education has worked with schools to help them prepare for these kinds of things. It's the attack, I'll use that word, by ICE or the federal government coming into schools. Schools now are prepared for soft lockdowns. They know how to prevent kids from being taken out of schools. And then you've seen lots of neighborhood programs that have developed to support the parents also. So those are all things that are in effect. We're supporting the organizations at the local level, as you know, that are warning people when things are happening in their communities. And so that entire system that's been put together is one that the state continues to support. So we think that's the best way to go. Remember, very importantly, I think one thing we learned during COVID is that remote learning really has a deleterious effect on kids' ability to get the kind of education that they need. And so we want to do everything we can to keep kids in school where they are safer, frankly, than when they're wandering around in the community. And so that's what we're focused on, is making sure they get the best education possible, and that's really done in the classroom.
And is adequate protection for parents who have been, confronted by agents outside their kids' schools? Do you feel like the system that you talked about is enough to protect those folks?
Yeah, again, we're supporting a lot of local organizations that are doing, in fact, that work. What we don't want to do is have, for example, police officers taken off the beat to protect people from violent crime or to go after the bad guys when we can actually rely on communities. And I think you've seen this at our houses of worship, at our schools. People are gathering in communities. The number of whistles that have been sold to people who are walking around and ready to blow the whistle when they see something bad happening in the community because there's a federal agent wandering around stopping people because their skin is brown or black. The number of people that are trying to protect and do their, I think, civic duty has grown exponentially, and I'm really proud of that, and proud of the people of Chicago and the entire region. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you and a follow-up to the secretary, if I could. I should admit on this story, I'm totally biased because I drive to Kennedy and the Tri-State every single day.
Yes, sir.
Help people understand why the last few years have felt particularly bad in Chicago.
I can't, you're saying something that I think is just broad. I think, look, anytime, I know you've talked about when we had a project that went long. I hope you'll recognize that this one isn't going long. But I will say and I'll let the secretary also answer, but I just want to say, we have been doing a lot of construction across this state. I think, all the workers certainly know that. We've hired a whole lot of people to help do that. And that has slowed things down. It just has. I'm not talking about slowing down the project's completion so much as I am talking about traffic gets slowed down. You got to, take over lanes that you wish you didn't have to. And then, of course, we're upgrading so much about the system. It isn't just about paving. And so I would just say that it is challenging. As you know, there's the joke that we're all aware of, which is there are two seasons in Chicago. There's winter and construction. And that, truthfully, the fact that there's some, difficult weather often slows us down too. So those are just some of the things that I would point out to people who've had to put up with it. And of course, I acknowledge that in my remarks about, things getting slowed down. But we are really now in a position where things are going to speed up significantly. But
Yes, sure.
Is there a better way? Like, explain this to me like I'm an idiot. Please don't comment on
You
it.
said it, I did.
But is there a better way, right? Like 24/7 shifts, flooding the Kennedy with workers around the clock. Explain to people why
Yeah.
that doesn't happen.
Well, it does, and that's why this last phase was faster than the previous ones. And so one of the things we did was look back at the last two phases and say, okay, can we run more shifts? Can we flood the construction zone? How can we do that in a safe way? We also wanted to make sure that we are being more transparent about what was happening too. I think that's also challenging. When work's happening underneath the structure, it can feel like there's no work happening to the structure. And so we also tried to make sure and work with the media to let you know what's going on. We also looked at how we staged things in previous phases too. Again, a lot of this is some of the technical work that the team does, but to say, well, how did we stage on phase one? Could we stage differently? What's a sequence of ramp closures? Could we do them as a cohort? Can we do them, in different spots that are a little more strategic? So we are actually, one, learning from the work we've done in the past, but then applying it here. So all the things that you mentioned are things that we've tried and I think successfully completed in this phase.
Secretary Biaggi,
Yeah.
two-part question for you,
Sure.
please. Was the project over, under, or on budget? And what was that figure for the entire project? Second part of that, while the project did end a month early, the portion from 2023 ran over time by several months. So your response to that?
Yeah, so we're around 170 million. We'll get you the exact figure, no problem. And thinking about the different phases, I think is important when we talk about how the last phase took a little longer than this phase. It was a different kind of project. So phases 1 and 3, so year 1 and year 3, were most alike because we were dealing with the outside lanes. It's those reversibles. I mentioned the RevLAC. Those are much more complex to address. And in fact, the electronic systems, that was a big part of a new kind of improvement we were trying to make. That took a little longer to figure out. We certainly had some of the ways that we were staging that we were able to improve the next round, in part because the physicality of the project was a little bit different. That helped a ton too. And then again, in this phase, trying to run more shifts in a way that we could on this kind of project that we would not maybe have been able to do the last phase. So there's a lot of factors there. Even the weather plays a role in this. We've had a lot of good weather this year. Let's keep it up. As the governor said, we have 2 seasons, construction and winter. And so the weather's also helped us to make sure that the work is out there and getting done. But if you were out there, you saw our people working in the rain, working when it's cold, working at night, all of that. And that was a concerted, intentional effort to speed things up.
Secretary,
Yes.
I know, especially in the states, you guys did some things too, but you know that there was still a lot of milling, patrolling, and maybe complaints. So what would you say would be the biggest concern drivers had in phase 3? And would you guys have lesson learned conversations on what could be done differently for whatever project you're getting?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think on every single project we learn something, and we learn it especially on the long ones, right? And this was a great example of where we got a chance to actually adjust, where we could finish a phase, say how do we move it forward. I think a couple of things that, to your point, some of the pain points that we were hearing about, certainly it's the relationship between closing ramps, right, and then some of that traffic wanting to go into neighborhoods. And that's something where we tried to work very closely, and we heard loud and clear. I mean, the representatives behind me and many others made it loud and clear to us that we had to do better, and we had to make sure we were communicating well. And so that's an example of where we tried to make sure we were actually in neighborhoods. We were providing repetitive information about what's going on, making it easy for other people to tell the story. And so that was a big pain point when a ramp closes and when it opens. And some of that can be variable. If we hit a condition we didn't expect when we close this ramp and maybe it has to be closed a little longer, that's one of those things where we beg for forgiveness because there's got to be some adaptability. And then obviously I think the other pain point is people wanted to ride the Kennedy. They wanted it done. I think that, if there was one big issue, it was, could you please get this done, get this going a little faster? I want to take my kid to school. I want to get to work.
Secretary,
Yes.
some exits on the Kennedy will still be closed. Is that part of a separate project? Can you explain that? Drivers will still see some closures?
You're always going to see us out there a little bit, especially I mentioned with the express lanes, that drivers still will hit those gates and we'll have to go out and repair those. You see the Ohio Street Bridge, that's under construction. That is a separate project. What's great is we can sort of pivot and concentrate and get that done. So from time to time, you'll see closure, but Wilson's open, Ontario's open, we're ready to go.
Yes.
Well, again, a lot of conversation, negotiation has been going on with my office and the legislature for quite some time now to make sure that we can put a package together. Here's the number one thing. We have to build a world-class transit system. How you pay for it is always complex, right? People would rather we didn't have to pay for it, we just got a world-class transit system. So how you pay for it, frankly, is dependent upon how the public and the legislators react to different ideas that get raised. In the end, you'd like to not do any of it in terms of revenue raising, but that is a required part of it. What I'm suggesting to you is we're trying to bring all the pieces of it together to make sure we can pay for it, and that we'll do it in a way that does it, that has the least amount of pain, and to the extent that people have to pay for it, we spread it to people who can afford to do that. I'm not going to get into the game of like which piece of it. There's still a lot of negotiation going on, although I will say we're nearing the end of that process, so I'm hopeful that we're going to see a complete package before Thursday of next week. Yeah.
Governor, Deputy Attorney General Blanche sent a letter to California officials yesterday correcting federal prosecution if they allegedly interfere with immigration enforcement activities, and then on social media tagged you and said this applies to you as well. Do you take that kind of threat more seriously coming from the Justice Department than you do from the President's social media account, or how do you weigh those sort of?
Well, if any of the facts were true, or if the law actually applied to something like that, sure, I take it seriously, but we're not breaking the law. What we're trying to do, and I've been very clear about it in the Illinois Accountability Commission, is we're trying to keep records of what the federal ICE agents and CBP officers are doing that is breaking the law in Illinois, or potentially breaking federal law, or that's outside the protocols of civilian law enforcement. And that, because it's clear nobody at the federal government level is holding any of those people responsible. Their supervisors are not acting to suspend people or fire people when they act improperly or abusively. The President of the United States and the people who work right under him, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Gregory Bavino, none of those people are taking any responsibility for the misdeeds of some of the agents on the ground. And so we want to keep records because we think people need to know they are going to be held accountable eventually. And it is the records that we keep now and that we do contemporaneously that will be the most valuable. One other thing, when you take records, and when I say records, I'm talking about all the people out there who pull out their phones and take video of what's going on the ground. When a 15-year-old gets tackled and nobody sees it, there's two sides to every story, right? You're going to hear ICE say one thing and you're going to hear the victim say something else. But when you have video, and when you have thousands and thousands of videos that are being taken just by average folks out there who may not want to, stand up and be noticed, but they want to do something, those should be kept in a record. And so that's what we're doing. Nothing illegal about any of that. We've also asked for review and testimony, and we've asked federal judges to help us do that. So everything here is according to the law and according to what we think is appropriate for maintaining our constitutional rights in this country.
And to be clear, you're not talking about state troopers or CPD or other local police arresting any federal immigration agents, anything of that nature?
That's not something we've suggested would happen. What we have suggested, though, is that if we keep records and that eventually the Congress will hold people accountable, that's probably the first thing that could happen because there's an election in 2026. The second thing that could happen is that the federal government leaders in the federal government, leadership of the executive branch could change. Certainly people in those positions can change, and perhaps they will take action based upon the facts that we are gathering.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.